Yeah, man. Nice. Welcome. Yeah, man.
Welcome.
Yeah.
Here we're having a very different episode. Usually we have these episodes on a bar, on a restaurant, but this time we're going to talk with someone and we want to make the episode about you, about your story. So we don't want to get distracted with a place. We are recording in a different location. So, hello, do you want to introduce yourself? Do you want to talk about a bit of your story, who you are, what do you do nowadays, and then we can go backwards?
Yeah, perfect. So, my name is currently Georgios Karhu-Jopasin, and you can pronounce it many ways, but Georgie is how I usually introduce myself nowadays. But my old name, just to clear out any confusion, used to be Georgios Joes Teka. So that was my name until 2017, and then I took off Joes in my last name for multiple reasons. I can get to that later, but but you can still call me Joes or Georgie, however you feel like. And a little bit of my background. I'm a how would I call it? I'm an international who was born in Finland, and my roots come from Kenya, and from my father's side from Congo, and partially from Angola and Portugal. That was recent news to me. Okay. Most of my life, I just thought my father was full Congolese until I realized and found out from my family in the Congo side that no. We have white in our blood. I was like, oh, okay. Yeah. Yes, your grandmother is half Portuguese. I'm like, okay. So now a lot of things make sense to me. Why I am how I am. Yeah. Just joking. So. What I do right now, I'm running for the municipal and county elections here in Tampere and Pirkanmaa, and I work as an entrepreneur. I do project management, administrative management for example, a company called Jäbät and Tunteet. Jäbät ja Tunteet. So it's a media company. They have their own podcast, and they focus on creating a more better emotional conversations between men throughout all generations, the younger, the older ones. And I'm really happy to be part of that community. And we have our conversation clubs, conversation events right now in Helsinki, Turku, Jyväskylä, and Tampere. And Tampere is under my responsibility to facilitate and create stable growth around the area.
That's really good, man. I actually watch Jäbät ja Tunteet. I think it's a very good platform and very good conversations that happen over there. I'm really happy for you, man. You know.
Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, to be open, I've known you for some years now, right? So we have history, and it's good to reconnect. Have a conversation and stuff, but. How did you? So you were born here. Were you born in Tampere or were you born in another city?
I was born in Pietarsaari. So in Swedish, they say Jakobstad. And many asked me after that, do you speak Swedish? I do not. Fortunately, we moved away from Pietarsaari to Porvoo and then to Vantaa. I was around 4 years old when we arrived to Vantaa. So I don't speak Swedish, unfortunately. Okay. But But yeah, we have known for a while, and I've actually been watching your career path with admiration, to say it.
Thank you. Yes. Thank you. But I've been watching yours too. But the good thing is that today this is completely about you. Oh boy! Yeah, man, this is completely about you. So you showed up in Vantaa like what 4, 5, 6 years. What was Vantaa like then? Was there diversity during that time?
At least in the area that we used to live in, we lived close to Korso, so eastern part of Vantaa, and there was a lot of diversity. There were a lot of people from African descent living there, from different Middle Eastern countries, Asia. Actually, my memories, if I try to recall when I was 5 years old, was that there were more internationals than there were native Finnish people, like in the specific area that we lived in Kulomäki. Kulomäki. So, I have really fond memories of that time, but I think my mom was afraid that I would turn into a little criminal, so we moved away to Riihimäki. No, I have some crazy stories that, 6 and 5 year old kids can do some stuff.
Crazy stuff, yeah.
But yeah, afterwards we moved to Riihimäki. I finished my elementary school there, primary school, high school, and after that I was ready to go to the workforce. At least I wanted to go to the workforce. But at the time I was working for Yle in different TV programs. One of them was Summeri, a youth program, and afterwards I moved to Tampere for the filming of Uusi Päivä, which is more familiar for people in Tampere, all around Finland, but mostly people in Tampere know that series. Yeah.
How was that? How was that being an actor? I know nothing about that space. How did you get in there? Did you have an acting background? Did you study acting? And
I was just a passionate kid with a lot of trauma baggage. No, that's a true story because I ended up in the entertainment business by accident. I think it was my elementary teacher when I was maybe 11 years old who told me that you could be a good actor. You're always performing in the hallways and performing in class and making jokes. So have you thought about putting your energy and your creativity into acting? And I thought about it. I told my mom that, hey, a teacher told me that I could be a good actor. What do you think? And my mom was laughing. You don't get money with that. I told you, I have set a career path for you. Don't do that.
Yeah.
Clowning and acting. I was like, okay. But she was really supportive, and she took me to Helsinki to a casting agency. They took pictures of me and shot a short video. So I thought that was it. Now when they have taken few pictures of me and interviewed me, I'm gonna get roles like immediately. No, it didn't go that way. So I really had to work hard and audition a lot, and around when I was 14 years old in middle school, I decided that I'm gonna go all out. If I want to be seen, I have to really sacrifice something to get it. So then I can say it now because it's so long ago. I skipped school like a lot.
Okay.
Even my mother didn't know I was sick. But I wasn't really sick. I took the train from Riihimäki to Helsinki, and I went for auditions. Wow. And I did it multiple times a week. I scoured the internet to find where can I find auditions that I can go and show my skills. And after one whole year of doing that and getting a lot of
a lot of no's.
Oh yeah, from my mom and from the school, I finally started getting some roles. First, some small roles in like extra roles in Salatut Elämät and some commercials. But hard work paid off. Within 2 years, I landed a role in Summeri, and I became one of the main cast hosting that show. So yeah,
great.
It's interesting to hear these stories. I think especially when you see it from the outside, for a lot of people, it might be that this is just, you got a lucky hit. You went, applied, bam, got in. But I think it's sometimes hard to see from the outside that a lot of these stories are not just luck, right? There might be some luck involved, but it's just when you focus on something and you try, eventually something will happen. I think that's a good,
definitely, yeah,
good story to hear.
Exactly.
Yeah, and definitely, and and that's the thing. When I got where I wanted to be, and many people asked me, "How can I get to television? How can I start doing the same things?" The best thing I could tell them was be persistent. Even sometimes you can write down your experience, so you will at least process subconsciously what you can do better the next time. Because that was basically exactly what I did. I did some weird things. Like now looking back, I would say, that's weird. But I was always looking at the information of the production team. Who is the producer? Who is the director of the show? And I sent emails to big names like Aku Louhiniemi, a movie director in Finland. And when that was the time when actually Uusi Päivä started running on TV, and I found who was the main producer in that show. So I sent like personalized emails to all of them, just sending videos, my pictures of me and links to my previous performances. And most of them didn't return back to me except one, and that was J.P. Siili, so the main producer of Uusi Päivä. And what he sent back to me really motivated me to keep doing what I was doing. And he sent back to me that it's extremely nice to see someone that persistent, and I watched your videos that you sent me, and they were really nice, and you have some talent. Keep doing what you're doing. Eventually you will get there. And I just needed that email, that one email from all of the producers and directors I sent emails to. So then I kept grinding and trying to be more creative. And so it's you have to you have to work smart, but also you have to put some effort and commit what you're doing. Yeah. And not give up when you feel like there's no doors anymore left that you can open. Because if you stop your movement, then the opportunities are going to also shut down. You have to lay seeds in different places and stay strong in your mind, resilient.
I recognize a lot of a bit in my life. I've been in a similar situation where you were like, this is going nowhere maybe, I don't know. Before you got that email, how you were not getting answers, but you were still applying. What kept you motivated? You know, because I think in that spot, a lot of people will have just quit and maybe change career path. What do you think in your life was no, I am going to make it?
Well, for me, it was kind of, I didn't leave myself any choices. I think it helped that we were living in Riihimäki. So back then, I loved the city. I even tried to get my wife to move there at one point because I was like, I miss Riihimäki so much.
Riihimäki is doing good.
Yeah, it's a special place, at least for me. But we encountered, my whole family encountered racism there the first time, like racism that I wasn't even able to imagine exists. Because when we came from Vantaa, where there's a lot of internationals, to Riihimäki, where for the longest time I thought we were the only pigmented brown people in the whole city. So we were called names, get out from Finland, oh, you Somalis. I'm like, I'm not even from Somalia. But I felt like if I won't make it in this path, I don't want to give myself any other options. That and it was a teenage mind that was thinking these things, because I knew if I give myself any leverage to give up, I will give up. So I told myself, if by 18 I haven't reached my goal, I told my friends I would kill myself, but I wasn't planning to kill myself. I was just telling myself that you have to be serious about it. And I was terrified that I will end up having a cleaning job the rest of my life, because at school there were some kids telling me that, do you understand who you are? You're African. Do you see what work you get in Finland? You will be cleaning. You will be doing cleaning jobs or something that you haven't been educated to do, but that's only thing we can provide you for you in Finland. And that was also my experience when I went to different places. I saw a lot of highly educated people from African descent or some other countries who were doing work that they were doing work like cleaning jobs and
having their skills kind of wasted, basically.
Exactly. So I was genuinely terrified that even though I will get my education in Finland, I will even go to university or whatever in the future, my options are extremely limited. And it's also the role models. If back then I would have seen people like you, for example, TK, working in the public sector or private sector and achieving something there, my future plans might have been different. But for me, I saw musicians on TV. I saw people who looked like me, basically only in entertainment and sports. So my view of my future was really limited. I thought if I want to survive in this country, I have to gravitate towards entertainment or sports. And sports, I thought to myself that if I will get an injury, that's it. So my career would end there.
Exactly.
So the only viable option for me was entertainment. So I have to hone my skills. If I need to dance, I will dance. If I need to sing, I will sing. I will do whatever it takes to be the best at my craft. In my craft. So that's what I did. And that's why I started skipping school, because I didn't have faith in school anymore. And
that's a real thing. I think I've heard that on multiple different spaces, that people find people become discouraged with what's going on, because when there isn't representation in spaces that align with your goals, you often feel like those things are out of reach. And not even only that, I remember as well that, even in my process at some point in time, as I was studying Finnish at some point, I had a clear kind of idea about what it is that I wanted to do. But even the system at that time, along with some of the kids that, we used to volunteer with and support around Tampere, they would be telling us stories from their schools that, no, I want to be a doctor. But, my teacher is saying that, be realistic. Maybe you can be a nurse, and that wasn't even based off the fact that were they smart or not, because they'd be killing it in school, but it's just, people kind of like not having a vision or an image of a person of color or somebody from outside of Finland holding the kind of positions like being a doctor or being a coder or being a business owner or being a politician or being an actor. Like that was not even, part of the frame. But it's good to see that is changing slowly.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So you did acting for what, 5-10 years? What made you leave that space afterwards?
I did it total amount of. I started when I was 12 years old, and now I have to calculate. I did it almost for 8 years, and I stopped because I had a lot of time when I turned 18, 19, and I was still filming Uusi Päivä here in Tampere. And I lived here alone in Tampere too. Most of my friends lived in Riihimäki, or they had moved to Helsinki. So when I came to Tampere 2013, I actually didn't know anyone here. So I had a lot of time to reflect my career and where I wanted to be in my life. And it came as a shock, but I realized first, I don't like to be in any moment, in any place, the center of attention. So publicity was actually the thing that drove me away from that industry, because I wanted to experience something that my friends had. They could go to places, do things without people recognizing them. But walking in the streets and people coming to talk to me and asking for autographs and pictures together, and I was eating at a restaurant, just trying to mind my own business, and someone comes there like, "Hey, I know you, Vehti." I was like, so I felt like I needed that space to really grow as a person, to learn about myself, and I wasn't able to do it when I was under the public eye. So after the second season I did for Uusi Päivä, I didn't accept any other jobs in the industry, and I started doing like regular work. So I did some sales, some marketing. I was trying to see where can I use these skills that I collected in Yle and all the other projects I did during that time. And it was interesting time, and it was also the time when I met you. And a lot of other really cool people, and I started finding myself, most importantly, because it's an interesting thing that happens when you start acting or doing any performance work early in your age, like child actors, or for me as a teenager. You're constantly I felt like you constantly have a role that you're playing, and the publicity also adds on it. So I didn't really feel I was able to be myself, and the worst part was that I didn't even know what is me. Am I this projection that other people project to me as this guy from television doing the XYZ, or the guy playing this role Veeti in Uusipäivä, or this guy who was talking to me in this event and hosting it? There were so many perceptions that I realized like I'm drowning actually now under the perceptions of other people. So I deleted my Instagram, all of my social media platforms. I just went underground, hoping that police forget about me. So that was one of the many reasons actually why I, when the time came that I actually had to change my name for safety reasons, that won't go too deep into that. But I was all for it. I was like, yeah, if changing my name is going to help people forget about who Joes is, I'm all for it, because I started finally enjoying life in a different way and feeling that freedom to really start finding and understanding myself better. So it was an really important phase in my life.
Yeah. I can imagine it can be a complicated thing to, struggle with your identity as a black kid in Finland, born in Pietarsaari, and then, finding some sort of diversity in Vantaa, and then, losing all of that in Riihimäki, and then, you get into entertainment, and maybe you're one of, if not the only person on set who is of color, and then, having that much attention to you because you stand out so much. I think that a lot of people that I know who have also been somewhat, in space of acting or entertainment have also mentioned the same thing, that they at some point sometimes feel like, they're constantly in character, or that they start internalizing the character that they think other people have of them. But I'm happy that, you decided to take time for yourself and kind of reflect and think about who you are and what it is that you want to do, and explore other things. I think, the latest that when we spoke, when I saw you after you kind of came out of your underground, you were working in a public sector. Yeah. How did that happen?
Oh well, let's say credit to my mother. She finally got what she wanted. A safe path for your career. Sorry, Mom, if you're watching this. She was quite relentless. After I finished doing all the TV work, it was like an opportunity for her to guide me to follow her footsteps, taking a safe position in this society, and working for the public sector was always a phrase that I heard a lot, that it's safer, and you can build a long career. If you're going to have a family one day, think about them. And I was 21 years old, so I was wondering, why is my mom talking about a family? I'm still trying to find myself.
Like, I don't even want kids. What are you talking about?
Well, so I tried it out. I worked first for the TE office in Helsinki, and afterwards, 2020, I started working at the TE office in Tampere, and a few years after that, at the employment services for the city of Tampere. So it has been a valuable experience, because I even when I was acting, I always believed that I always had this belief to hold experience is valuable. There are some experiences you don't need to experience, but I was always really curious, and I don't like to talk about something if I haven't had some sort of experience in some level about that topic. So, and I also knew that working for the public sector would also open my eyes to how that area works and functions, that I can bring that knowledge into practical use in some part of my life later. So yeah, it has been a really interesting part and chapter in my life, which I really appreciate. But that helped me to realize that at heart I'm an entrepreneur.
Yeah,
and the pacing that we usually have in the public sector is not a pacing that I maybe enjoy.
It's too
that
slow.
Much. It's slower.
Yeah. You're just trying to be diplomatic. It's slower. Yeah.
But it's really nice to see because I came to Finland 2017. It's nice that to hear when I met TK, he was talking about his work and this kind of thing. Like now I hear you and your path through tea services and stuff. For me, it's very nice because my coming to Finland and my path through tea services was a bit bumpy to say it in a way.
Yeah.
But for me, it's very nice to hear that there's people with a different experience, with life experiences, who have actually seen the other side of the coin. Even you grew up here, you still saw kind of the other side. I think it's very valuable to have people there who can influence and who have. Because I think sometimes it's very hard to put yourself in someone else's shoes. So it's very hard, even if you're making decisions, even if you want to make the best decisions, if you don't have that life experience, it might be a bit complicated to make something valuable. So I think it's very nice to hear there's people like you who have walked through those places and left something there.
Yeah, man. And so this thing about experiences now, because it looks like you have very unique experiences to a lot of internationals, right? So if you didn't say anything and nobody knew you and they would see you on the street, they'll be like, oh, he's an international. But technically you're a Finn. You're an Afro-Finn. You're born here, raised here, you speak perfect Finnish. What has been your experience with being an Afro-Finn?
It's good. It's really good that you mentioned that, because 5 years ago, I used to call myself Afro-Finn. And that was before we moved to Greece and lived there for a year. And yes, and you're correct. My experience here in Finland is kind of unique. I think mostly because I've lived in so many different areas in Finland. And I'm pretty sure that if my life would have been centered in the region of Helsinki, Vantaa, Espoo, in the capital area, my viewpoints would be completely different. But because I've lived in places like Kuru, which is like part of Ylöjärvi now, but a really small place, Tampere, Riihimäki. So I think I have a really good overview of the situation that many internationals are going through in different places also than the big cities. And I don't know, I don't know. To be honest, I don't know what to call myself at the moment. Afro-Finn would be the closest, maybe, as a term to describe myself. But
do you feel more Finn or Afro?
Finn, definitely Finn. Yes, I don't think many other people from African continent would agree, because actually I have an experience about that. When I was living in Helsinki for 2 years, 2016 to 2018, I found my kinfolk, to say the least. I was hanging around with a lot of Congolese people in the area I was living in, and it was a really interesting experience, because they took me in immediately. They were like, "Hey, you're one of us," whatever that meant. But then we had this living room. We were hanging around watching TV, and the guy owning the apartment was showing us news outlets from Congo, and always ranting like, again, Congo corruption, da-da. And everyone was like, yeah, but we're in Finland, we don't care about that. No, let's talk about Congo. And then a guy came into the apartment. He was like maybe 10 years older than me, and he was extremely angry. He was looking at me like I hurt his cat or something. I don't know what. I didn't know why he was so angry at me for some reason. And then he stood up. He took his coat, and he told me like, "You have to stop that Finnish acting you're doing. You talk like that, like we are less than you. What is your problem?" He was shouting at me, ranting that I had this performance to speak Finnish in a certain way. Then they started arguing. Another guy stood up and said like, no, you don't understand. He has been living in Riihimäki. Do you understand? He's not like fully like us. Like he had to learn to speak Finnish in a certain way to survive. No, I think he's doing that arrogantly. And that stuck in my mind. I felt actually really confused, because I just spoke the way I usually speak with my Finnish friends. And by any means, I didn't expect someone to be insulted by that. And then, because after he left the apartment, another guy sitting next to me told me, like, asked me actually first that, do you really speak Finnish like that? I said, yes, I do. Okay. Well, I will explain to the other guy that you didn't do it on purpose, because he felt like, because he had explained in Lingala what he felt about me. And the guy next to me told me that he felt like you were talking down on us because we talk Finnish a little bit differently than you, and he thought that you were trying to be like
condescending
and uppity-duppity, like Uncle Tom type of a performance. And I told him, okay, thank you for letting me know, and that's definitely not my purpose here. So, and that after that experience, I felt, I slightly felt like, okay, maybe the Congolese community is not my community either, and because I already had that experience in Kenya, traveling there, and they called me Black Muzungu. And I was like, okay, I don't belong here either. Yeah. And the last crusade was when we lived in Greece for a year, and it's different to be a person from African descent as a tourist in Greece, and completely different story living there, because but I respect what I respect about Greek people. They're really honest, open, and direct. So people came up front to me and told me that you will never be a Greek. You're not Greek. You're African. And I told back, like, I don't know what I am, but I know I'm a person with a dark-skinned pigment, and I was born in Finland, and I know that I have parts of all around the world. I have a little bit of Greek influence in me. I have a little bit of Finnish influence and bits and pieces from Congo, Kenya, and I'm really happy about that because, as I said, after Yle, I had to take a lot of years to really get inside my mind and to really figure out who am I. And one of the biggest issues that I faced was that I felt the need to belong to a community. And that's the part I left out, because I was kind of envious at people from certain Asian communities, because I felt like they had their communities were stronger. And then when it came to people from the African continent, I felt like we were kind of divided by country. So there were the people from Gambia in one part, people from Tanzania in the other part. They mixed a little bit, but I felt like because of my environmental situation where I was born and where I was raised, that I never got to feel that sense of community, and I was really craving for that. So, to jump to your question, Afro-Finns, I started Googling and finding more information about. I tried to find a label. What am I? And I bumped into Afro-Fin, and I found that they have an organization. They have meetings, and I found your name somewhere there. Back in you are involved in everything, TK.
Maybe at one point, yeah.
So then I got encouraged. I thought, like, I know a friend who is involved with this Afro-Fin organization, and I can maybe label myself Afro-Fin now, and maybe that's the label I want to use. But yeah, right now I'm in a place where I basically have accepted that I'm me with a lot of spices from different places in the world.
Excellent. Yeah.
I have been. I can understand these because we have this very very common problem. For example, I'm from Mexico, and they're in the border. You have a lot of Mexicans who have gone to the US and then they're born there, and then they don't feel they belong because they grew up with the Mexican culture, even though they grew up in the US. But then when they go back to Mexico, you just speak weird. You're not really from here. So they're very proud of where they come. So it's a bit of it's interesting space where I don't really belong to any, but I have a bit of everything. I find that a very, very interesting.
Yeah, I think it happens often with diaspora communities, right? Because the moment you go outside of your own home country, one of the first things that you will do is try to look for your community there where you are. And depending on what phase you or the community are, it could be a perfect match or it could be a mismatch. But in any case, the fact that you are born here and then you have diaspora from the same country the funny thing is that diaspora, when they go home, they probably get treated the same way they treated you. You know?
For sure.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So and so it's I think as a diaspora individual, we tend to struggle with our identities. And it almost feels like, depending on where you are in terms of like location, you're constantly having like an existential crisis. You're like, hey, well, I'm here. Am I Finn? But when I'm with my community, am I part of my community? But my community comes from a community. Am I part of that community? But then when you go to that community, they're looking at you like, guy. Wait a minute. You know what I'm saying? So yeah.
And I think it also depends on the for example, on the level of integration, right? It's not the same when I hang out with a Mexican that just arrived, a Mexican who his parents are Mexican, but he grew up here, and I meet a Mexican that has been here for 10 years, 20 years. The whole experience and the mentality is completely different, right?
Bingo.
And especially what I've noticed, because we have the same, in the Mexican community, it's, well, Latinos, we are hot-tempered, and it's not a one large community. I have different groups of Mexicans I hang out with, and I like all of them, but, there's not one large group.
Yeah.
And you can tell, not only here, because I also lived in Germany, and I also saw that phenomenon there, where I think individuals who have integrated, who they don't need to feel like they belong completely, but they have a life, they have found their purpose, they are doing their own thing. It's very easy to get along, and they're more acceptant of everything. And I think people, when you are struggling with yourself, when you don't know where you belong, when you haven't found your path, when you haven't, it also shows up, like in that case, for example, or you're looking down on me. I think that's more of a reflection of that individual is probably feeling a bit, I don't find my place, I don't feel comfortable. And I think that kind of situation causes more issues between individuals instead of, helping the community to grow and integrate, like,
together,
get stronger.
Yeah.
I've seen that same issue.
Yeah. You hit it to the nail. Exactly.
Yeah. And it's interesting to hear, to think that there are these potential fractures amongst diaspora communities within the community, and then that the diaspora community itself, for example, doesn't feel like they belong into the larger society. And I think now in this environment, for example, where Finland is going through a transition, we have a different government now. It feels like the environment is not so welcoming to internationals. There's been a lot of articles on that. Just looking at the environment as it is now, what made you, decide now that maybe this is the time that I should get into politics? Is it a reflection of the way that you've been experiencing Finland, or is it a reaction to, how the diaspora is being spoken about within society?
Well, to start with, one of my main themes is international talent and how I feel like it's underutilized. It's not understood, the potential within that that group. And when we talk about immigrant, foreign background, employment and opportunities in Finland, I feel like it comes from a few specific narratives and talking points, and I wanted to be able to be a person with my background to expand upon that conversation and to highlight those opportunities that are not being spoken really widely of. I have read some articles talking about it, but I feel like I know Helsinki has a lot of issues with it too, but I feel when you come from Helsinki to these other big cities like Tampere, Turku, and Jyväskylä, Vaasa, it's amplified. Those issues are even more amplified with the opportunities that people with foreign background are able to get in the workforce and also as an entrepreneur. Because I know people who have businesses that rely on business to business with other Finnish corporations, and what I've talked with them is that they have experienced bias when they have gone to those meetings because of their background, and less trust with doing business with them because they are not native Finnish people. So, and one of the people I talked to, he actually stopped running that business and he founded a restaurant. He felt like maybe I have to do a service-based business where people just come to buy food, or it's easier for me to run my to sell, to make sales, because when they were doing business-to-business type of work that involved Finnish corporations and making sales to other companies, they struggled a lot, and they constantly felt like they have to put native Finnish people to do the sales work and do the marketing and appear in front of the company, and they themselves had to be in the back, basically hiding, so no one knows this business is owned by someone who's not a native Finn. So, but these are mostly issues that I've encountered people having more here outside of Helsinki and Espoo, Vantaa areas, the metropolitan area.
Okay. And so what's your what are you working towards with your campaign in terms of, like, you're running for politics? What are your key messages?
One of my key messages is that we have to really understand better the potential that international talent has in the region. And also, I can reveal some of them. I will get deeper into all of these themes. I have three main themes. But international talent, if you think about it, many of these people from backgrounds from Africa, Middle East, if we talk about international business, I think that's extremely potential. There's a lot of extreme potential that there is. For example, if I want to make business with create a new open a new market and business in Saudi Arabia, why wouldn't I have people who talk Arabic in my company, who know the area, who know the culture? The same thing if I want to start doing business in Senegal or Gambia. Wouldn't it be useful to have someone who understands the area, the culture, the business habits, and the risks, and so many other perks that come with it? So when we talk about Finland, that we want to be more international, we want to make business with other countries, we want to have a better global reach. But then at the same time, we are not utilizing that international skill that we have within our country, who could open those doors, who could translate some cultural differences, who could do so much for the country. It feels silly. It feels like I would have a bag of cash behind my back in the counter, but I refuse to touch it because for some reason I feel like, no, I cannot trust that money. I'd rather just go do my thing with no money when I have literally a big resource behind me.
Exactly.
And that is one of the points that I've been trying to push out, that you have to really understand that, especially now when a lot of businesses are based on services that can be sold to other countries. We have to acknowledge that we have so much skill, linguistic skill. Like people many times from foreign background, they talk maybe 2, 3, 4 languages, some even 5, 6, 7. I've met people who talk like a lot of different languages, but we are not using that at all.
Exactly.
And employment is another. It's connected to this, but another big theme that I have, and because still to this day, people with foreign names, foreign backgrounds, they have a smaller chance of getting employed than someone with a native Finnish name. And there have been people from all around the world who have lived here or even born in Finland, and they have decided to change their names to a native Finnish name, so they can even compete with the others. I haven't done that, but I have to admit that I even considered that last year. Last year I was in a place really deep in my thoughts, and I talked with a person who had changed her name to a native Finnish name. And she told me that's the only way you will even get a chance to compete. Because they won't even read your CV. They won't dig deeper if they see, it's must be someone from somewhere, I don't know. I won't even open this email or this application. But I don't know. I think I maybe have too much pride, and I've changed my name too many times. I feel like I don't want to confuse people too much. But also the second theme that I find really important is healthcare the healthcare issues that we have, mental healthcare especially. The services are stuck, and people have to wait in line for extremely long time to get any help for their mental or any other health issues they have. So, and the third is relating to communities. I want to build stronger and better communities, not only for people with international background, but also bring this community culture and strengthen that in Tampere and the region of Tampere.
Yeah.
Because what I've seen, partially in Helsinki, but also when I traveled to other European countries, I'm going to have to highlight Greece now, because their economy has been in shambles for over a decade, for a long time. And it's not the first time. But what I noticed there was, even if the times are hard and you literally don't have any money, and you have to basically put all the money together with your auntie, your cousins, your grandmother, and your children is putting their own pennies to the table, the communities they have there are extremely strong. And even for me, I was an immigrant there, but they took me in. Although they told me, you will never be Greek. I was like, it's okay. I speak the language. I'll be fine.
Yeah.
But they took me in and they brought us clothes, even though we didn't need new clothes for our children. They were asking, do you need some? I have some leftover food. I can bring you that food. And people were taking care of each other.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing I experienced in Congo. And I was pissed. I was 16. Because I was 16 years old. And from my father's side, they are like upper middle class, something around there. So, people have gates in Africa in their houses for a reason. But our gates were open, and my grandmother was just waving people to come eat the food we had. And I was telling my mom, why are they? No, that's our food. No. Wait, who is this kid? And I was asking, who are these people? My grandmother told me, look, we don't know them. We don't have to know them. They have some food left over on the table. They can come to eat. And it came to me as a shock, because I was used to a mentality that what is ours is ours. We don't share it to strangers. But that is something that I realized throughout the time, that let's say hypothetically things would go worse economically in Finland. What I would hope to see is people having more compassion towards each other and supporting each other, not being afraid of the neighbor, but giving a helping hand from time to time.
COVID wasn't a good example of that, right? Everybody was just hogging toilet paper and just making sure that...
Oh, yeah. I feel like... I feel like COVID even made it worse. But I see potential. I really see potential, because Finland is changing rapidly.
Exactly.
And there's this also connects to international people, because there's a lot of things that us in Finland, as people living here together, we can learn from people coming from other countries where the culture requires kind of this community support, so they survive. And we have things better here. We have social securities and other securities we get from the government, and we have this really strong individualistic mindset still. Like, and I don't find it all bad, but I do think that if we don't open dialogue, even with our neighbors, the negative aspects of our human nature might even get more visible. And fear usually things stem from fear. When we are afraid of our neighbor, afraid of someone walking across the street, afraid of employing someone who is from a background that we don't know about. Fear breeds more fear, and how we can confront that is literally with confronting those issues, confronting our fears, meaning confronting more people, having that dialogue outside of the internet too.
Yeah.
Because in the internet, we can do always this legendary thing. We close the tab and close the laptop and be like, I hate that person.
Internet warriors.
Exactly. But when we have a dialogue openly like this, face to face, it would take more from me to just take my clothes off right now and run off the door, because I'm already with you in the same spot, in the same place. I'm kind of forced to have that dialogue, to face my fear, my anxieties, and sometimes even bring topics out that I would be otherwise afraid to talk about. And when I've done that thing, I've noticed that there's still a lot more in common with people than people think.
Yeah.
Especially now in the internet age.
Yeah, for me, it's the because you can for example, I follow the Finnish Reddit, right? And I know internet is a different space and it's not always real life, but you can see, for example, there's sometimes, well, very often, almost every day, some foreigner, right? I don't know how to make friends. I came to Finland. I'm a student, or I'm whatever. I struggle to make friends, or I'm over 35, 30. I don't know how to make friends. I don't know how to connect with people. And the comments are very often from Finns, like Finnish people, native people who are like, well, I'm in the same boat. I'm your same age and I don't have friends, or I have one friend, or I have two friends. So I think there is a craving of community, even though there's this individualistic mindset. It's just not a big thing here, right? But you can also see, like, for example, I don't remember what's this called in Finnish, when the spring cleaning, right? That you can see all the neighbors coming together. I think there's a craving for that, and it's just human nature.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good thing. If you just nurture that, I think it very easily could grow.
Exactly. I think it's been published, I think, that there was loneliness is a problem in Finland. So I hope that we can get to a point where communities, people do things, more things together. Even if it's just going outside now when the sun is out, like to clean the yard or, do things like that. But I actually think like the things that you've mentioned about your campaign are very important. Internationals, there's a report that came out that basically employment growth ever since the year 2000 can be attributed to internationals and their children. 60% of that is happening within the 6 biggest cities. Finland is not a great exporter of goods, even though we come up with great things. And we know that every now and then you come across a product where you'll be like, man, if this one was at home, I would have been so happy. And
The
drying
thing.
The drying racks, right?
100%.
There's so many good Finnish things, right? And it's unfortunate. Well, Nokia was out in the world, but why isn't Marimekko out there also in Africa? Marimekko is a great brand. Why aren't a lot more Finnish products out there? And that's exactly as you said. How do we tap into internationals that have the cultural, linguistic experience of these other places and tap into that talent and that opportunity to grow the economy? Because that way you create more jobs, right? So we definitely need to work on that. Healthcare. When I moved here in 2012, it was very easy to go and just book a time at the doctor, and now I just realized there's a 3 to 5 month waiting list for somebody to go and visit the doctor in the public healthcare. How did we get here? How do we fix these things?
Well, that's a really good question. And I think I should be a person who should have some answer to that. But to be honest, when it comes to the issues that we have in our healthcare system right now, they are multifaceted, of course, and this is the political answer. But the simple answer is that it really depends which master do you serve first. And I'm not going to call out any big corporations right now, but when it comes to, like, for example, I have to be really careful when I say it right now.
Hey, by the way, cheers, guys. While we're getting into this thought.
Have a pause.
Yeah. While we're getting into this thought, cheers.
It's the tradition.
Yeah, it's the tradition.
Channel, just have some drink.
Yeah, exactly.
And as I had to say, this is extremely tasty apple juice, I presume. Apple juice. Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's one of the fanciest glasses I've seen.
Oh, yeah.
And this is actually, hey, shout out to Lincoln Kauiewa. This is actually a replica of Lincoln Kauiewa. He's a Ghanaian Finnish designer. And he has the original design, and he has licensed this to another company to make this similar design. The originals are absolutely amazing. And this one is, another, You know, this one is the public version that we can afford. You know, I say.
Nice.
Yeah, shout out to Lincoln Caillou for this one.
Really impressive.
Yeah.
Thank you for also letting me have time to rephrase my thoughts. I would say if we focus on, sorry, I know the word in Finnish.
Say it in Finnish.
Ennaltaehkäistä. So
okay.
If we focus on preventing certain issues from appearing in the first place, let's say like mental health, we have studied this all over the world, in Finland too, and we know which things cause deterioration of people's mental health. And there's a lot of when we talk about like in Finnish sote, so social and health, the
healthcare services.
organization, the social aspect is many times forgotten. And this ties into communities, building stronger communities and services for communities. And communities include families, students, whichever smaller community within that larger category. But there are direct correlations to our mental health issues that have exploded right now. And COVID, for example, was a time when it was really actively reported that loneliness, isolation, and unable to be connected with other people face to face, and finding your own place in the community. We saw that with students, for example, young adults, teenagers, even children were suffering from really bad depression during that time. And how I think about things many times is if I see an issue and I try to understand which elements have been part of that issue, can I reverse engineer it? So these things are fueling those issues that we have. How can we reverse that and bring more of the opposite side of this issue to basically push the trajectory to another direction? So if I see, for example, that loneliness is increasing and social services, the whole spectrum of it, the funding has decreased, I can see concrete pragmatic problems where we can put our finger on to the pulse and start changing those aspects to a direction that it sustains. That it gets better. First sustains, and after that gets better. Because right now we are financially in a deficit in Tampere and many other places in Finland. But I know the first steps are going to be we have to sustain so it doesn't get worse. But at the same time, when it comes to non-profit organizations, they have a huge role where they can fill the gaps that, for example, our healthcare system cannot financially now do. And because also the funding has decreased for the non-profit organizations, the support they get from the city, the municipal area, the funding they get from the government, and there's amazing organizations that have done amazing work that I found out working at the employment services, and many of them also they have been stressing for a year because they have been saying they have to lay off people, they have to lay off, put down projects they have that are helping the youth, helping the youth, young adults, and even adults over 30 years old. So when everyone is just trying to survive, and especially these organizations that have been the backbone, basically supporting all the other structures we have in Finland, we are in a really fragile space right now.
Rene, have you voted before? Like in the municipal elections?
Yes.
Yeah. Like the reason I'm asking is because I'm like, what were the things that you were looking at within a candidate when you voted the first time?
To be honest, because I am someone who likes to be informed, and well, you have ADHD as well. Like when something gets in my head, it's like I have to know everything.
You have to figure it,
So what I did. Because I've had this conversation with other internationals, for example, where they, even though they could vote, they don't vote because they're like, well, I don't care about politics, I don't know anything, and I think that's not a good thing, right? Because you should always vote to the thing that if you want to change, if you want to be able to complain, you should vote. Yeah, but
exactly.
But personally, what I did as someone who doesn't know maybe every candidate, because I think it's also a bit rough. When you have so many candidates, it's very hard to check everyone individually. But what I have done is this Valikone that you know, they have like a bunch of questions. You answer everything like the best as what you feel. And then it shows you, okay, these candidates have kind of answered in a similar manner. It shows you which answers are the same, which answers are not. And then I usually take like maybe the first 3, 4, the ones that match more, and I read into them a bit more. So I get a bit informed of like, okay, this sounds good. There's also sometimes candidates that maybe they get, I don't know, 80% of the answers are the same.
Yeah.
But then in one that you really care, it's the complete opposite. And
Yeah.
you're like, okay,
Like,
maybe not.
Yeah.
So that's what I personally do.
Yeah.
I go through those, check, and then that's how I kind of decide. I think this would be a good match.
Yeah.
I also like there's one party that I vote usually for, so I try that the candidates around that
The
party. So that's personally what I do.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's good. I do the same, you know, like I've also used Valikone and all of that. But like now when the whole elections have started in this environment, I've been having conversations with different people and there's some interesting characters that have popped up in Helsinki and for very interesting parties. We're not going to mention names and I feel like this runaround in terms of Finnish elections, it feels like there's a different energy, there's a different vibe. And I think, you know, there's a lot of factors, obviously, that are playing into that. The thing that I find interesting about the way maybe a lot of people that are running for office are presenting their stories is that there's differences in the sense that some people are talking to things that are very specific. Like a lot of migrants that maybe are voting for the first time now, maybe, right? That come from places where things maybe haven't been as good as in Finland, might not necessarily see problems in the healthcare sector or problems with these things. So, you know, the kind of like the motivation to vote is like, you're complaining about having to wait for a couple of months to the doctor. We didn't even have doctors. You know what I'm saying? You're complaining. You know what I'm saying? You're worrying about, you know, exporting or getting a job. What? There's no companies where I come from. Like everything has been blown up. You know what I'm? So but these are real things, right? And for them, what is maybe what is like right on top of their mind right now is like very bread and butter issues and the very concrete things that they hear on TV when someone is telling, you know, speaking about, oh no, these people shouldn't be here, they don't belong here. Just the general environment itself, the discourse, the public discourse, is what they're worried about, and they want people that speak to that. That no, but I'm here because I feel the same way you feel about this environment and the way that these people are speaking about us. And I want to get into that space because I don't feel that it's right that people who represent everybody should be speaking about some sectors of community that way. So I'm going to go in there and make a difference on that public discourse before we even start talking about, because healthcare definitely needs to be fixed. Employment definitely needs to be fixed. But there's this kind of lingering thing that's happening, you know, that people are very worried about and people are very motivated to vote right now. And there aren't a lot of people speaking to that. It feels like a little boogeyman right now.
True.
Well, personally, for example, what I've noticed is for example, I've heard this discourse of like, there's no racism in Finland. What do you mean? Like, there's especially one candidate of like, there's no racism because I have never felt it. I was like, well, personally, I haven't felt the healthcare issue because, for example, I was living in downtown in a part where they had this like tryout. So I had Mehiläinen.
Yeah.
So I never have had a problem with healthcare.
Okay.
And now that I moved and I have like one of the other like public healthcare systems, I have a good job that luckily has a very good thing. So I've never seen that struggle. That doesn't mean it doesn't exist, right?
Yeah.
So
what are the things that matter for you now if you're not worrying about the healthcare?
Personally, I don't like the discourse.
Yeah.
I don't like this. And it's more about because we know there's problems. And the statistics show some certain problems. But I don't like the discourse of all foreigners are a problem, right? Because we all know a lot of foreigners, man. I know more foreigners, way more, that are doing good things for the country.
Yeah.
than the opposite, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So I think this, for example, discourse being so like open, I have a problem with it. Personally, I like for example, I think the security situation, the fact that you, for example, don't have this community kind of thing. You are not funding a lot of the things
NGOs.
a lot of the NGOs that, for example, keep youth busy. They keep youth in activities. You are defunding those. I come from a problem, like from a city or a country that has a lot of problems with youth not having a clear path, having a lot of free time, and that turns into a lot of problems.
Yeah.
With crime and stuff. Yeah. So for me, I've seen it before. I've seen that happen in my country. So and now you're seeing that these problems are starting to pop here and there very lightly. So of course you cannot talk about a huge security issue, but it's popping here, it's popping there. Exactly. So I can see that. Hey man, let's fund. Let's keep youth in a good path. Let's keep communities. Let's keep. And I think for a lot of natives who haven't dealt with this kind of thing, they don't really see it, or they don't really want to see it, or they maybe for them it's not a thing, right? That you think, nah, that happened. It's just one case, but this is like some systematic thing that slowly, if you don't, as you said before, if you don't go to the root causes and start doing a structure around it, it will, like, unfortunately grow.
Yeah.
So why not take care of it now?
Yeah.
For me, that's a huge thing.
Exactly.
Because one of the main thing I like about Finland, and the main thing why I decided to stay here, is because it's safe. Yeah, we're back.
Yeah, exactly.
Small break.
Very much needed. You know what I'm saying?
But now I had time to think.
Yeah.
And it was, NGOs and culture.
Yeah.
Because culture has also been cut. And I think it goes in hand by hand with this, keeping youth busy.
Yeah.
Giving them a path.
And making sure that they aren't doing dumb stuff wherever they are, right? Because, I mean, there's already like kind of like this whole public discussion about youth gangs growing and all of that. So those are some real serious issues. I think those are hot buttons for a lot of the international community, and I know that those are things that are close to your heart as well. You know what I'm saying? So I'm happy that that you've decided to take a stand. I had my little attempt many years ago for a different party. You know what I'm saying? But to be honest with you, the reason why I kind of also stepped away was that I started getting attacks during the time that I was running for municipal office, right? So I practiced Aikido, and I had some unsavory characters actually come to my practice all of a sudden, just to, then I had people put notes on my gate and write things that are very unsavory on my mailbox, and I had kids, and I had to kind of like hide my name, identity, address, and stuff, and all of that. So, I'm very proud of you, and I think you're brave for stepping up. I hope the best for you in this political run, and I know where your heart is because I've known you for a while. So, we have great expectations from you. So I hope this works out, man.
I appreciate your words, and I want to say thank you. And to be honest, for me, running is just to be able to speak out to a larger audience these topics that we're discussing right now, because there's a lot of points that are not in the public discussion. As you said, it's usually from a certain perspective and certain like issues from
an organizational level, that are not really customer centric.
Yes. So and also when we talk about people coming to the country, there's as we talked previously, there's people who have been living here for 20 years, 30 years, some people who have come here a year ago. So we are not all in the same. We may be from the same countries, but we are not in the same place in Finland and in level of integration. But we do also face a lot of similar issues. Someone who has been here for 30 years may face a lot of similar issues that someone faces who has been here for months. And but I don't think forcing anyone to change their attitude is going to help at all. And I think many times when we talk about these issues, it comes from a position where we divide us and them, and them are talking about topics this way, and they are prejudiced, they are evil. And to be honest, I don't think I could ever travel to China and be calling out Chinese people in the streets like, you are racist, and expect them to take it gladly. Like
100%.
yeah, or anywhere else really in the world.
Exactly.
So I think coming in a way that we basically almost like attack someone, it's not helpful. It's not gonna help at all. And I've been actually in situations. Sorry, you were saying something.
No. You're spot on. Yes,
because I've been in situations many times where there's an older person who comes to me, and this wouldn't be okay in Helsinki, but I let it go. They come next to me and they say, "Hey, nigger, how are you?" I'm like, I'm good, thank you, but I have a name. No. Yes, what's your name? But they start with "Hey, nigger," and I don't get.
So that's a strong end.
That actually happened. A similar thing happened to me actually in January, so not long ago. But I don't take an offense about it.
I get it.
I've been in similar situations where it's like,
yeah.
But then I've been in situations where people don't realize what you're saying is
completely
very
inappropriate.
Yeah. But then when you talk to them, you realize this person doesn't know this is like
is not
it doesn't.
He's
not like this person is not trying to insult me. It's like they just don't know better.
Yeah.
And then when you talk to them, I've gotten hit very often with this, like, oh, you're good, one of the good ones, which wait, like I 100% like in my head it's like and I know it's not the best.
Yeah.
But for me, I take it as a good thing because it's like, well, I'm not going to change this 50, 60-year-old person's mind.
Yeah.
But in his mind, maybe I'm the first foreigner they met.
Yeah.
And in their mind, it's like, so not all of them are bad.
Yeah, exactly.
For me, like, it's awful. Yeah, it's something. It's awful to say. I would never say that to anyone.
Yeah.
But I think you have to also see it with the other glass, right, or the other lens of, well, maybe I made a big difference to this person's life. Maybe I just changed this person's mind to the not everyone
just made an impact on his mindset to the rest of the community.
Yes.
That's a
so
big thing.
maybe the next time they met someone that is not a native Finn, maybe they don't go with this like, oh, this motherfucker, right? They'll be like, oh, I wonder where this guy's from. Let's talk to him.
Exactly.
Maybe it makes a difference. I like to think it in this positive way. So if I would immediately go aggressive, like what are you talking about, and get aggressive and get offended, I think that would make a negative impact. So
exactly.
Yeah, and you know the way that you said that, explains a lot about the ethos that we have behind the podcast, which you have been very strong on. What's the point of having conversations around the table where we're just bashing? We don't bash, right? We have conversations about what are the challenges, what are the good things that are happening, and try to highlight the good things that are happening instead of bashing, because nobody is receptive to just negative. Finland has got a lot of good things.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man, the environment is great. The society is great. It's safe. It's good for the kids. All of that stuff. And I love Finland. I think it's an amazing country to live in. There's just things that need also to be fixed, even in a good place. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. And that's why my approach is more gentle and aggressive. And I as we said, aggressiveness doesn't really help. And I don't feel a need either to be aggressive, because even though I was born in Finland, I could have been born in Uruguay. Actually, that's a fact. Like, my parents were planning to move to Uruguay first. So my life could have been completely different. But I'm here where I am. I've been dealt with the cards that I have, and I can do the best with the ones I have. But also, I feel I've created this self-responsibility. Responsibility to myself to help others in a similar situation where I used to be before. And I know when we're talking about these people are afraid of their safety with their gang culture increasing, and I'm going to touch button right now that is not really publicly spoken in Finland a lot, but our neighbor Sweden has been now in the media quite a lot for the last 10 years because there's people living in parallel societies right now in Sweden.
Exactly.
Areas that
like Rosengård.
Exactly. And the thing we hear in Finland in the news is that there are some gangs making connections with people in Helsinki, slowly putting their nets here. You should be scared. And as I'm personally, I'm not even a native Finn by my genealogy, but still in my mind, the only picture I see is someone who looks like me with a hoodie ready to rob someone in Helsinki. Because there's the certain image we see when we talk about gang culture and we talk about youth criminals, even though the newspapers wouldn't say out loud that they are foreigners. That's, I think many people get the image in their heads. It's them who we see walking in the streets with no place in the society, and that's the key.
Yeah.
If we exclude people, even without wanting them to be excluded, but we just don't have anything for them to do.
Yeah.
They're gonna. We need other.
They're gonna
people.
look for community.
Exactly.
In however way that they find it. Right?
It works like that everywhere. Like in motorcycle gangs, gangs in general. It's a bunch of people who feel the sense of community from that gang or whatever criminal activity they're practicing or not. So if we don't understand the issues that also drives people to do these things and tackle those issues, we are just gonna we are gonna be walking in circles.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I completely agree. I mean, it's not like gangs are a new thing. Gangs have existed in Finland before as well, right?
Yeah.
So it's, but yeah. In any case, with all of that going on, I think that there is some positive outlook in the future. We always try to say, we want to celebrate the good things that are happening. We want to celebrate the people that we invite to the podcast, and we celebrate you. Now you're an entrepreneur, right? You're running a business. You're doing some good things with a very important platform, I would say, right? Because I think actually Jabat ja Tunteet was the first podcast that I saw a person of color speak about emotions, right? And for me, it was interesting because he's gone through a lot of things. But in general, not just about him, for there to be a platform where people of our gender can sit and just be open about, what, I go through tough times sometimes. I'm depressed sometimes, or all of this. I think it's an amazing platform. How did you find your way there? Like, are these people that you knew before, or is this kind of like, is this a media thing, or?
I have a friend who has been involved with the project, with Tampere and Pirkanmaa project for a while. And it was actually last year he asked me to join one of the conversation clubs in Helsinki. I went there and I was truly surprised because I had my thoughts and biases about it. Maybe it's, guys talking about emotions from a specific angle and you cannot talk about your negative emotions, just, happy place all the time. So when I went there and I saw like men from different ages talking about their own beliefs, their thoughts and their experiences quite holistically, actually, that impressed me. And I thought like, this is actually something I want to work with. So the chance came to me later last year, I think it was December, when I was still working for the employment services of the city of Tampere. And my friend told me like that, hey, I'm actually working for Jabat ja Tunteet and for the podcast. And I thought that if you want to help out with building the community in Tampere, that would be really great because there have been those communities in Tampere, Turku, and Jyväskylä already for a while, but they felt over there that I could really use my connections and advertise the group and get it to grow. And so now I think it was actually last month when I officially started working as one of the core members of the Jabat ja Tunteet production.
Nice. Yeah, man. Congratulations on that move, man. Yeah. And it's kind of like, it's also like grown into other things, right? one of the first like media companies that came out of that, and there was a lot of beautiful things happening around that. Challenges, despite challenges, these are all things that we celebrate because there's representation, right? So we hope only the best for you in the future. All the best on your journey as an entrepreneur. All the best on your journey as you are, getting into the political space. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. And if we want to vote for you,
Yeah.
what's your number? How
right. So
how do we do it?
Yeah.
So if you live in Tampere, you can vote for me with the number 3 and 0. 3 and 0.
30.
30.
Okay.
And if you are living in the region of Pirkanmaa, anywhere in Pirkanmaa, you can vote for me in the county elections with the number 2233.
Okay.
So 30 for Tampere and for the whole Pirkanmaa, 2233.
Awesome.
That's easy to remember.
Yeah, man. 2, 2, 3, 3, and 30.
Yeah. Good numbers. Good
Yeah.
numbers.
Exactly.
I gotta thank my party. I don't know who did those numbers or the magic, but I'm really happy it's simple and easy to remember.
Exactly. Hey, man. Thank you so much for coming to the Unfinished podcast. To our viewers, thank you for watching the podcast. Follow us on YouTube. Follow us on Instagram. Follow us on all our social media. That's unfinished.pod. And
Unfinished podcast. Yeah.
the website.
.com? Sorry, I think it's unfinishedpodcast.com.
It'll be here. It'll be here. But yeah, here's to another great one. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
George.
guys.
Thank you.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
man.
It was a pleasure.
Yeah, man.